I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Earth.
To Earth, the element of Earth as presented in Battle Zoo Eldamon.
Today we're going to be talking about the Earth element. If you have ever wanted to play an element that's strong both on the offense and the defense, Earth is the one for you. In fact, when looking at the element's chart of what it can do, Earth looks like it has the highest statistics out of any of the elements. That's because the elemental charts of offense versus defense versus utility and all of those other things doesn't list range. Earth has the shortest range and quite a few abilities that only work on the ground. Just like Antaeus, the giant from Greek mythology, who was nearly invincible as long as he was touching the ground. As an Earth user, you're going to rock and roll against enemies who are close by and who are on the ground. So let's take a look at the different builds you can have of Earth Eldamon based on the different powers so that you can learn which powers you want to take. Then we'll move on into the Eldamon like Kitopaz so you can figure out which Eldamon can best use each of the powers we talked about before. So as usual, we'll be starting from lower level powers and moving up to the higher level powers, then moving on into the Eldamon. To start off, your Earth Eldamon is going to start with Boulder Smash, which is basically a giant boulder attached to your body that smashes into the enemy and also is just so big it can block for you. So it deals d8s of damage. This is in Pathfinder. In D&D, it deals fewer dice, usually of a larger size. So it deals d8s of damage, and you get a bonus to your armor class until the beginning of your next turn. That's just how it works. The boulder's so big, even on a miss, it deals a little bit of damage.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the elements have had a melee attack of some sort, and then the counterpart to it is a ranged attack.
That's right. Not Earth. Its second ability that you're going to start off with is Tremor Stomp, which is an area effect, but it's not exactly ranged. You stomp the ground, and within a 5-foot emanation, creatures who are on the ground against their fortitude save are going to wind up taking damage, becoming off guard, taking penalties on their attack rolls against anything other than you as you get their attention.
So because that's a 5-foot emanation to start off with, that means that your Earth Eldamon or Elemental Avatar is really going to be fighting adjacent creatures.
Or if you have longer reach somehow, which you don't, then maybe slightly farther. The emanation can get bigger at higher levels. You can choose to make the stomp bigger. But by then, you'll have other options as well. But at first level, your Earth Eldamon basically needs to get right up in their face. But in exchange, it's giving the enemies penalties on their attack rolls against other creatures, giving yourself bonuses to your armor class.
And as you might imagine, Tremor Stomp requires you to be standing on a solid surface, because what else are the tremors passing through? Yeah, exactly.
So now your reactive power is Harden. So Harden, as a reaction when somebody's going to deal you physical damage, you gain resistance equal to 5 plus your level to physical damage except adamantine against it.
That's a lot of physical resistance.
6 at first level.
Yes.
6 is a lot at first level. Now, granted, a shield gives you 5, but you would have had to raise the shield first. The shield can get broken. This cannot get broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. So you go right up in there, but yeah, you could just avoid 6 damage every time you cycle through your elements. Now, speaking of cycling through your elements, the refresh power you use to cycle through is called Rock Cover. It gives you and your allies greater cover, a +4 circumstance bonus to armor class, reflex, and stealth. Obviously, you can't sneak with this cover because it's obvious
you're surrounded by giant.
It's surrounding you with a giant rock.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Earth is not the element of subtlety.
Not only do you gain greater cover, but your allies get regular cover from you because you're surrounded by so many rocks instead of lesser cover, which would normally be the kind of cover that you give for just being a person who's standing there.
And does that apply in both directions? Does that give your opponents cover against your allies' attacks?
No. You provide no cover against attacks from your allies that pass through you. Because you manipulate the rocks.
So you block their way even less than normal, and you block your opponent's way even more than normal.
That's correct. Yes, You don't get to do anything other than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. If you're an avatar, maybe you did a 1-action strike or something. But, like, that is a strong enough defensive ability that you might want to use it even if you're not refreshing to get +4 AC, give 2 AC to your allies, and no penalty to your allies shooting through
And
your
also,
square.
since you're attacking adjacent targets with all of your stuff, you're going to be right up in the middle of things. So having more defenses for yourself and your fellow melee allies is going to be useful.
If you want to be the biggest turtle in the entire world, you could just rock cover every turn, which means you can also harden every turn and block 6 damage as well, if they even hit you with +4 AC. If you're in, like, a narrow corridor and the enemies have to, like, tumble through to get past you, you could be extremely annoying without even using your active powers. And then when they do go up to you, you smash them with Boulder Smash or stomp them with the Tremor Stomp. That's what we're starting off with. You're always starting off with that. But then, at 3rd level, that's when you're going to branch out. You either choose to go more offense or more defense. So if you're going more offense, you get Grasp of the Hungry Earth. When you are standing on a solid surface, you detach earth from your body into the ground in a single direction to clutch the foes to hinder their movements. All foes adjacent to you along one of your space's 4 sides. So typically that's 3 if you have one square.
You're here, and then the one's right in front of you.
The
and
3
just to the side
diagonals
of the
right
two,
front.
yep.
But if you're large, that's actually 4 creatures. And if you're huge, it's actually
But you're
5.
not huge when you first
No,
get
you
this
aren't.
power.
And you're probably, I mean, if you're an elemental avatar and you're doing something really weird, you might be large. Because you could be like
A large ancestry.
a large ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, everything along that side of you takes D6s of bludgeoning damage, just like Tremor Stomp did D6s. And it's also a fortitude save. But when they fail, they cannot step as long as they are on adjacent to you on that side, in any of the affected spaces with the grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Until the beginning of your next turn, or they have to escape from using your power DC, which is probably not worth it to step. You can just, like, move. Although it's difficult to run into them. If they critically fail, though, they're actually immobilized for 1 turn unless they escape. So that can really hold creatures who critically fail in place and they're not getting anywhere.
So you can lead with that, and then whichever opponent gets more hurt is probably the one that critically failed, is both more damaged and is immobilized, is going to have trouble getting away from you for you to do your follow-up attack on the next turn.
Although they're definitely in the range of your Tremor Stomp at that point.
Yes,
if you kept
absolutely.
it, or your Boulder Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's adjacent foes. Now, your other option is Stone Shell. It's an active power. It gives you resistance 7 against physical damage except adamantine, which is basically like your reaction except better by 1. And every time it does something to protect you, it decreases by 1.
This lasts until you refresh or until it wouldn't protect you at all anyway.
And at basically at every even level, starting at 4th, it goes up by 1. So it starts at 7 at level 3 when you get it, but the very next level it goes up to 8.
So if you were doing that turtle strategy that Mark mentioned before, you could instead turtle with your active and then only switch to turtling with your refresh when you needed to.
Correct.
It's like turtle, active, refresh, active,
you can
refresh.
Stone Shell first.
Mm-hmm.
As your resistance gets lower than 6, you can... oh, wait. Actually, by level 3, actually, your reactive resistance is 8. So... As your resistance gets lower than 8, which it always is, if there's an attack that deals enough more damage than your resistance, you can use your hardened reaction, which is now going to protect you from 8 at level 3. You've just got a lot of resistance with the Stone Shell build. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to be doing that much on the offense, but you're potentially going to be pretty tanky with that level.
Especially at lower levels, a lot of damage that your opponents are going to be dealing is physical.
That's right.
I mean, a lot of damage is physical throughout the game, but there aren't nearly as many opponents who are like, I'm actually made of fire, or what have you.
That's right. So everyone who's been following along knows that level 5 in these guides, you're going to get to pick 2 new things. So you're either going to be able to load up on both of the new active powers, or you can take an active and take a new reactive power if you like it better than Harden. Now, Harden is still scaling up. Here at level 5, it gives 10 resistance.
Which is a lot.
But at 5th level, we can either choose Piercing Spike. It's one of the only attacks in Earth that does piercing damage instead of bludgeoning damage. So it could be worth taking just for that reason, in case you're dealing with foes that just kind of don't care about bludgeoning damage or attacking underwater or something like that. Basically, with Piercing Spike, you make power attack rolls against each foe in a 15-foot line. You make attack rolls against all of them. They all take d6s of piercing damage. And if your reach is greater than 5 feet, the length of the line is equal to your reach plus 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually like up to the end of your reach, and then
10 more.
10 more as you create a spike of stone and twist it at you.
But if your reach is 0 feet, it's still 15.
Yes, it's always at least 15.
Mm-hmm.
It only can be more than 15 if you have more reach.
Mm-hmm.
And it not only does it deal damage, but it also gives them a penalty on their next attack roll because of the fact that the spike's fragments are like embedded into them unless they spend an interact action to remove them first, which is usually not worth it compared to just taking the penalty. It's a different type of penalty than Tremor Stomp, just to annoy them. Although they'll probably have spent the penalty from Piercing Spike before getting to Tremor Stomp anyway.
Probably, but
you never know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next thing that we have to look at is Entrench. So Entrench is the other level 5 power.
Is this a very defensive power about not getting pushed around?
Why, yes, it is. It is. You're immobilized, but gain a +4 status bonus to saving throws and DCs against effects that attempt to move you. It counteracts anything that's going to try to move you. All squares within your reach are difficult terrain for your foes. When a foe enters your reach from a square outside of your reach during movement, they must succeed a fortitude save or end their movement.
So this is definitely the you shall not pass the ability.
Yes. Think about that. Every time an enemy even enters into your reach, they might, from outside of your reach, not when they're moving through it.
Yeah.
They might just have to stop.
But if you're in like a 15-foot wide hallway, you just stand in the center of the 15-foot wall highway and say...
And if their fortitude isn't high enough, they're just stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you're in a 5-foot wide, they have to...
Tumble through
First, they have to beat the entrenched, then they have to tumble through.
Yeah.
And they can't even push you out of the way very easily because you're entrenched.
Yes.
Obviously, at this point, since you have 3 active powers, obviously if you take Entrench and Stone Shell as 2 of your active powers, you're not doing much else to attack your enemies other than being an absolute obstruction. Now, your second defensive option is Rock Shield. Instead of
if you are an eldamon trainer and that's what you have going on in your Earth eldamon and you're saying, okay, you know what, it's time to defend.
Wait for the battlefield for that.
Then I put out this Earth eldamon that's hyper specialized in defense, and then I may have another eldamon who's much more focused in attack.
That's right. So if you don't want to get 10 resistance against 1 physical attack, you could get Rock Shield. When you're standing on a solid surface and a creature attacks you, and you can see them, you call forth a shield to give you a +4 circumstance bonus to your AC against the triggering attack roll. And until the beginning of your next turn, the circumstance bonus goes down by 1 each time you get attacked. So it's 4 against that one you used it on, 3 against the next one, 2 against the one after that, 1 against the one after that, and then it's done.
Yeah, I would think that generally if you were someone who had that active power about being super defended that also gave resistance, the Stone Shell one, you might consider switching to Rock Shield so that you can have some things for resistance against physical, and then Rock Shield, because that increases your AC against all attacks and not just physical attacks, gives you a broader variety of defensive power.
Correct. However, if you constantly use Rock Cover to create cover, Rock Cover to immediately get back hardened, even on the turn that you used your refresh Rock Cover, allows you to double defend yourself right off the gate after the refresh. Whereas once you've used Rock Cover, you get back Rock Shield, but it isn't actually useful on the turn that you used Rock Cover.
Yes.
So you have to think about what combination and cadence you're using. Because just like you said, there are certain combinations that work better with each other.
Yeah.
It's always good to have at least one of each of resistance versus AC instead of having lots of sources of AC.
Yeah, but I would imagine also that if you then say, okay, now I have that source of AC, then maybe when we come around to level 7, I might switch to a different refresh power too.
Correct. Speaking of which, at level 7, we can either choose one of the new 2 active powers or the other refresh power that Linda was talking about. So, Vengeful Backlash is potentially one of the most powerful powers in the entire game, but is also one of the only powers in the game that can completely fizzle. It very much depends on your situation, what kind of things you're fighting, if your GM is kind of like a metagaming jerk, and a lot of other things. So you circulate earth energy within yourself, ready to send shockwaves of backlash that punish those who dare to harm you, with an equal but opposite reaction. Until the beginning of your next turn, or until you are no longer staying on a solid surface, whichever comes first, all creatures that hit you with melee strikes take bludgeoning damage equal to the result of their damage roll, before doubling the damage for a critical hit or adjusting for resistance, weakness, or the like. So if they crit you for 40, they still only take 20.
Yes.
But if they hit you for 20, they take 20. Also, you might have resistance 9, and you might not take 20. Yes. They did.
But it specifically is not going to protect them based on how much resistance you have.
Yes, you can resist it. They do not. And you can choose to give yourself a circumstance penalty to AC against your foe's attacks, up to a maximum of -4.
To take more hits.
You can select the penalty separately against each attack. If no creature hits you with melee strikes while it's active on your next turn, and you use a damaging earth power without a duration, it deals additional bludgeoning damage equal to your level. That means if the enemy doesn't attack you at all, you at least get to add your level to damage next turn. However, your level to damage is pretty bad for a 7th level power.
Yes, that's kind of just a consolation prize for if they happen to not attack you.
Yes.
But I mean, if you are the stander in the hall of no one can get to my allies while I'm around, then they probably are going to have to attack you.
I say it's pretty bad, but I mean, it's not terrible, right? Like, if you're using Grasp of Hungry Earth normally does like 9d6 at level 7, and it would take it to 11d6, which is more than 20% more damage. But
yeah, but
it's only more than 20% more damage, and you
yeah.
spent a whole turn setting it up. So it's clearly only a consolation prize. It's not, you're not hoping to not get hit. Yeah. Usually even one hit is going to be good enough to be better than that, although maybe not, because you could do the extra 7 damage on an AoE.
And what I would imagine that you're often going to see is opponent hits you, sees how much it hurts to hit you, and then doesn't continue striking
fine,
you.
Because then they wasted
more actions, and then they're going to try to move to attack someone else. So then, you get to activate it, and then you're going to be doing some action denial.
Also, if you know you're in a spot where your enemies have very little choice but to attack you, Vengeful Backlash is a good call.
Yes.
So the other option, if you don't want to do that and be like the most vengeful, defendy person in the world, is Earthen Maul. So with Earthen Maul, you swing a gigantic maul made out of earth. It is so big and so wide that it hits all foes on a 20-foot cone. That's just how big your maul is.
So this is our first larger area.
But it's like swinging in the cone. It's not like coming out of you in the cone. It's like coming from one side of the cone to the other and swinging into them. And you actually make attack rolls against creatures that are in the cone. It's not like a cone breath.
So do you roll one attack roll again, fight against everything, or separate against everybody? Okay.
That's way too swinging.
Yeah, one against all is way too swinging.
It is a swing, but it's too
Yes, but you're not going to want a situation where it's like crit everyone or crit miss against everyone type
So
situation.
not only does it do d6s of damage, but also, even if you miss, you gain cover against the foe because of that giant maul that's in the way, unless you critically fail, which still gives you lesser cover. If you hit, allies can even gain, allies within 20 feet of you also gain cover against the foe. But if they move too far away, they don't get cover because it's like from the cone.
Yeah.
If you crit, they gain greater cover. And so do you. So, that's a lot of cover. That's plus 4 AC if you crit it against that creature. It's going to have a bad time. And that's to your allies, too, who stay close to you. So, those are both good. Depending on... They both have both...
So, overall, you can see that
they
your
both
allies
have both
are probably going
defense
to want
and
to stay
damage.
pretty close. Your allies are probably going to want to stay pretty close to you as the Earth so they can take advantage of your various cover opportunities.
Absolutely.
Either that, or they stay farther back and you're the choke point holder and that sort of thing.
So what if you have all this cover and you have rock shield and you don't feel like you need rock cover for your refresh? Your other option at level 7 is to choose the shifting ground refresh power. That shifts the ground below, and in addition to refreshing your powers, each of your foe within your reach standing on the same solid surface as you who fails becomes off guard, and who critically fails against there's a reflex save becomes knocked prone. So you might be able to knock creatures prone. if they're within your reach. Basically, and either way, you're going to be able to at least knock them off guard until the end of your next turn. So when you get into your next attack, a lot of these use attack rolls, as you've seen, you're going to be ready to hit them.
Kojo asked if map applied.
So
presumably not until
it shouldn't apply until you completed
but that type of ability usually doesn't.
Yes, it probably should specify that, but it shouldn't apply until after you've completed all of the attack rolls.
Usually those types of things where it's like hit a bunch of things, your map does not increase until after this resolves.
That's right.
And then they may or may not specify, hey, it only increases map by 1. I think it would presumably
this increases it by all.
Increases it by all, but you know, you probably have something else to do with your last action that isn't just making a pot shot.
Something tells me you do. So at level 9, you only can pick an active power. Now, you can go back to level 7. There's some pretty good stuff in there. But if you're not, your level 9 powers are Rebounding Embrace, which allows you to cause your foes to take bludgeoning damage when they hit you until your next time that you refresh.
So another how dare you hit me.
It deals damage equal to your level every time they hit you. And if you have any resistance against physical damage or a circumstance bonus to AC, it is 1.5 times your level.
Oh, so the more that you resist damage, the more
or have an armor class bonus.
The so you're gonna want to activate that defense first and then put Rebounding Embrace up.
Alternatively, you can use if you're an Eldamon battler, Eldamon trainer, or you are a elemental avatar, you can use your Earth Shield to get a circumstance bonus to AC.
That's good because also since this is until you refresh, if you do it sooner, that's interesting because you may want to do it sooner so it rebounds more.
Well, it rebounds more turn by turn depending on whether you had resistance or the AC bonus on that turn.
So you have to kind of decide: do you want to do more retributive damage or do you want to be more defended?
The other choice is rock and roll.
This had to be in there. I knew it was going to be in here somewhere.
You transform into a giant boulder, a rock, and then you roll up to 20 feet in a straight line, bowling over your enemies, and then you transform back from a giant boulder.
So this is actually a movement power.
It deals, yes, it is. It's a very short range. It only goes 20 feet. But it deals D8s of damage. It's got a reflex save. On a critical failure, they're knocked prone. And you totally trigger reactions during your movement when you're a boulder, but you have a +4 circumstance bonus to AC and hardness equal to twice your level against those reactions because you're a giant boulder.
And if they chose to hit you with a melee attack while being adjacent to you and you had rebound up, then
you had Rebounding Embrace somehow before the rock and roll, which is possible, then they're going to take like 13 damage.
Or that other retributive one.
That only lasts 1 turn.
Oh,
thankfully for your enemies.
Fair enough.
So you won't be able to have that and rock and roll up on the same turn. But you could have Rebounding Embrace up. It's like, okay, sure, you attack me. I ignore 18 of the damage you did to me. If you even hit. And if you hit me, take 13 damage. So good luck. Unless you dealt 31, you took more than me from this. And you used your reaction. And you rolled high, because I had extra AC. If you'd rolled low, you would have missed with your reaction. That was like your best case scenario other than critting, I suppose. All right. So you can see Earth really has trouble like getting in there, but it can really put some no-win situations on your enemies. It's very good at defense. Let's look at level 11. This is where we're going to get another possible reaction as well as 2 powerful potential active abilities, one of which is not an attack. Let's start with the one that is Exploding Bulwark.
So I'm guessing we're going to do some damage and we're also going to be well defended.
So, yes, you create a giant bulwark of rock around yourself that explodes and seeks out nearby foes unless they chip away at the bulwark first.
Is this piercing damage?
So, I believe it is bludgeoning damage. It's giant explosion, almost like grape shot.
Oh, okay,
But the first thing that happens is when you use it, you choose any number of foes within 20 feet. You have to choose. They have to be within 20 feet when you use it. You then gain +4 AC from the bulwark. So, at the beginning of your next turn, the sort of grape shot of countless stones veer off and seek those enemies who used to be within 20 feet of you, as long as they are still within 60 feet of you now. They take D10s of damage. However, so they have a few options. 1, run the heck away. If they think that they're safe moving out of 20 feet, they're not. But if they somehow know that it's 60 feet, or they just were afraid and they ran really far.
Maybe they
they're
saw
fine.
you doing it before.
They're fine if they move more than 60 feet from you. Option 2. Each time a creature attempts a strike against you before your next turn, unless the strike is a critical failure, your circumstance bonus to AC from exploding bulwark decreases by 1, and the damage from the explosion decreases by 1d10 to a minimum of plus 0 AC and losing 4 damage dice.
So they're gonna. So even when they miss, they're gonna.
Even when they miss, they chip away at it. So it tries to encourage them to actually attack you. But of course, you
if
have
they
lots
actually attack
of AC.
you, then they're within range, and you also have lots of AC. Yeah.
Yes.
So they're. I mean, they're probably gonna miss you instead of hitting you, and then still reduce it. But you're
as long
either
as they
gonna
don't
have
critically fail, then you're gonna be fine. And also, they're still taking D10s. It's just 4 less D10s.
Yeah.
Like, boo-hoo. You still did 8
And
D10.
at that point, you have baited them into attack someone that they're probably going to miss and then not deal damage just so they can debuff your powers. So.
Yes. Kojo says Earth Element. It protect, but it also attack.
Absolutely.
It's not one of those tanky things that's like all defense, no offense. It's listed as having pretty high on offense. If you look at the chart for the powers, it just doesn't have much range. Now, here's one of its things that has a pretty decent range, though it's not an attack. Earthen Curtain.
So we've got this is going to be a wall type, and so as a wall type, it's got 3 action abilities.
Yes, a lot of these walls deal damage. This one does not. However, it's actually made of rock. So it's a 60 foot long, up to 60 feet long, up to 10 feet high, 120 feet away from you. Is a solid curtain preventing creatures from crossing it. They can damage a 10 by 10 section of the curtain. Gargantuan creatures' strikes damage 2 contiguous 10 by 10 sections instead of 1. And they can just bust through it. It's immune to crits and precision damage. It has a certain number of hit points. It lasts until you refresh. So Earthen Curtain can be extremely obnoxious for your enemies.
Yeah, because that a rare 3 action power. It's pretty much just the walls.
It's
and
mostly
then some
the
of
curtains. There's a few others.
Which will eventually get you
also,
another one
I think
here.
the ones that make the at level 17 that make like the storms are usually 3 actions too.
Yeah.
So
there's types of things that are creating these giant field effects.
You can make an Earthen Curtain every time you refresh if you have this, and it lasts until you refresh, or they can break it, but it's still there in other spots. So you can imagine how annoying this can be for your enemies.
Yeah.
That you can just keep doing this.
To do.
At level 11. Now, your last choice at level 11 is if you want the last reaction, Disrupting Tremor. And oh boy, it is disrupting. If a creature attempts to leave any square on the ground within your reach, not your move action, it's moving, you could force it to make a Fortitude save. On a critical success, fine. Do what you want. Even on a success, that space that is greater difficult terrain and basically costs it 10 additional feet of movement to get out of. On a failure, their movement is done. Just a regular failure, that's it. It's completely disrupted. On a critical failure, it is not only disrupted, it also falls prone. Like, we've seen other reactions that can mess around with the enemy's movements, but usually they have to critically fail to, like, be completely ruined on their movement.
And essentially lose an action, but on the middle of
But a lot of those other reactions also don't require them to be within your reach to start. This one, you had to go up next to them, and then they had to decide, I'm not attacking this Earth guy, this is a disaster, I'm leaving. But if you do, you can mess up their entire thing.
You may have noticed us talking previously about several cases where someone might say, I'm not attacking this Earth guy, this is a disaster. They're attacking me retributively. Their AC is ridiculous. And then you come out and lash out at them for that.
Now imagine this. Your enemy does not want to attack this Earth guy. You entrench. So they try to move past you with their first move action.
Yes.
It gets stopped by the entrench.
Yes.
They're like, okay, but now I'm within their reach. I don't have to roll against entrench. I'll just use my second move action to move away. It gets stopped by a Disrupting Tremor.
And then they're just like...
Even if they don't fall prone, if they fall prone on a crit failure, then they stand up and their turn's done.
Yeah.
If they don't, then okay, they can use their final action
to move
past you, and their turn's over.
Yes.
That's all they've done. And you've just laughed and laughed as they did nothing else.
Especially if they're just like, okay, I'm going to tumble through now, I guess.
Right? If you're actually blocking the way, then they might have failed to tumble through. So it's a very funny reaction, and it can definitely mess with people. If you are an Earth avatar, you want to highly be considering the feat that lets you actually pull like multiple reactive powers at once, so that you can use multiple reactions per round for your reactive powers, because these are good in different ways. All of them are. So, let's talk about level 13. This is where we pull the last refresh power, or one of two very powerful, but again, one is very defensive and not very attacking ability. So
let me guess.
Aegis of Immortal Stone
is going to be our defensive power?
So Aegis of Immortal Stone is just like incredibly, outrageously defensive. However, that's because it's an active power, and the only thing it does is protect you for one turn. So let's think, how much can we protect ourselves for one turn with an active power that is going to protect us for that turn? Actually, I think some of the benefits last until you refresh if they don't happen. So let's see.
So if they don't attack you...
So you surround yourself with a 9 invulnerable Aegis of Earth and Stone. Until your next turn, you get +2 to AC, +2 to reflex saves, +2 to fortitude saves. Resistance to physical damage except adamantine equal to 4 times your level. That is 52.
Creatures are going to have a really hard time getting through that.
That is 52 when you first get it. 4 times your level. At the beginning of your next turn, if the benefits did not apply, nothing attacked you, you never attempted a reflex or fortitude save, and you would never have taken damage, lesser benefits linger, and you gain a +1 to AC, reflex saves, and fortitude saves, and resistance to physical damage equal to your level until the first time any of these benefits apply to something, or until you refresh. If your enemy is just like, wow, this dude is surrounded by an Aegis of Immortal Stone. This sounds like a time to not attack them.
Why don't I walk away and get hit by the reaction?
For
trying to leave.
Because, right, you can just run up to someone and cast Aegis of Immortal Stone and then use Disrupting Tremor if they try to not attack you.
Yes.
52 resistance. And that's it. And it scales up to 80.
Yeah,
80.
So I wanna pull for comparison here the expected damage for a creature that you might be fighting at this point for strike damage.
Like the high damage at like level 20 is 40.
Yeah,
that's less than
I know.
52.
I'm just
although granted a level 20 creature is gonna crit you, but
yeah, no, I know, but it's like that's what I wanted to compare as a critical
look at Archives
hit
of Deadness. What would a critical hit from a level 16 boss?
A level 16 boss
with high
damage does 37, so
if it crits you for 74, then 22 of that will get
which is like high damage from it for a regular hit for an 8th level creature.
Correct. You'll just if the level 16 boss that is a solo boss crits you, it'll do like 22.
So getting crit by a solo boss is like taking a regular hit from like
the crappiest mook that you're...
A mook that basically can't give XP.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct. That's Aegis of Immortal Stone. But look, it's a high level power and it doesn't do anything else.
Other than protect you. A lot.
A lot. Your other choice is Rockfall. You make rocks fall from above, bringing death to everyone.
There we go.
Who dares to stand against you.
That was necessary.
Rocks fall, everyone dies.
Hopefully not your allies,
It does say bringing death to everyone who stands against you. Rocks fall in a 30-foot emanation around you, leaving you and your allies miraculously unharmed. Deal D8s in that 30-foot emanation to all foes with a basic reflex save. They continue falling until the end of your current turn, providing you and your allies in the area greater cover until then. Will that actually do anything? Probably not, unless a reaction happens during your current turn, but
might as well, right?
You can do that first and then charge through the enemies with greater cover. They remain on the ground in the area afterwards, creating difficult terrain until you refresh within that 30-foot emanation, making it even more annoying for your enemies to move around because rocks fell.
Yes.
And everyone died. Now, your last reaction...
Well, if they die, they really can't move around.
If you don't like Aegis of Immortal Stone or Rockfall, your last reaction choice is Auto Petrification. Also, you could later pick it up if you love Aegis and want to have something kind of similar to it for your refresh. You transform yourself into a stone statue of utmost hardness, attuning yourself to the earth to refresh your powers. You are petrified. You turn yourself to stone until the beginning of your next turn.
But you better have some pretty good defense at this point.
Except, while normally a petrified creature has hardness 8 for being made of stone, your hardness is equal to 4 times your level. However, due to the low AC while being petrified, foes are likely to critically hit you. You refresh your powers. So it's like a much worse Aegis of Immortal Stone, except for it does refresh your powers. So if you, at level 15, want to go back and sneak both Aegis and Auto Petrification, you can wind up having a rotation where, well, so at level 13 you have 3 offense and one refresh turn. Level 15 you have 4 and then a refresh. But you could sneak a rotation where 2 out of those 5 turns gives you 60 resistance or hardness. Which is...
a lot.
60 is a lot.
They're going to need that critical hit to do anything.
Well, but which they will usually get, because your AC is like trash if you're petrified. They're basically going to crit no matter what at that level. But when you're looking at 52 or more hardness, it's fine to give them a free crit, because especially if you're fighting a boss who might have had a good chance of critting you anyway, we just saw that critting will take them from, they would have done 37 if they hit you, 74 if they crit you, which they might have done, even with your AC bonuses. Now, you're basically guaranteed to be crit for 22.
Yeah.
That's not that bad.
That's not that bad. It's much better if they decide they want to attack you.
Even if they hit you 3 times and they're all crits, which the final one might not be a crit if you're lucky. It still does less than 1 crit would have done.
Yes.
If you didn't have auto petrification. It is weird, but potentially very effective for you. So now level 15. This is when we pull 2 more powers. It'll also give us to have 4 actives at a time in our rotation.
So I'm seeing we've got another 3 action here. So we're probably going to be doing something pretty big to the battlefield.
Most elements don't have a 3 action at this, but we have Fissure. It opens up a chasm beneath your foes, attempting to trap them within. It affects a 30-foot line. It just opens a giant fissure in that line. Creatures in there have to attempt a reflex save, and it lasts until you refresh the chasm that you created. On a critical success, they are unaffected. On a success, the creature slams against the edges of the fissure and takes bludgeoning damage, but does not fall into the fissure. On a failure, they take D8s. They take D8s. They're immobilized by falling partway into the chasm until they spend a single action with the move trait to get out of the chasm. On a critical failure, they take D10s. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it was only going from D8s to D10s, so it did not double to 2D8. It just did D10s. It did not do double damage. But in exchange, they are also trapped at the bottom of a 40-foot chasm and have to use a climb to get out. It's Athletics DC 15, which is not the hardest.
But the main thing is the action economy of needing to get out of there and not having line of effect.
If they don't have a climb speed or a very fast fly speed to fly straight up, they're going to be in... That's going to be a lot of actions to get out of there.
Presumably this one also you need to be on the ground.
Well, it says creatures is the chasm affects the ground in a certain feat. You open it up. You don't do it with your foot necessarily in this one, but you don't need to be on the ground, but they do. Otherwise, they're not affected. Your other choice is Rampart. That's it might sound like it's totally a defensive one, but it's not also offense this time, but it's also defense. You do need to be standing on the ground. You basically transform into an earthen rampart that grows along your sides. So now you basically have 2 30-foot lines sticking out of your sides like wings, extending from your body. If you're small or medium, this basically means that you are now a 65-foot line. It might be even longer if you're bigger than that, right? So foes who were actually...
Have you ever wanted to be a 65-foot line? Now you can.
Foes who are actually inside of your 65-foot line take D8s of damage with a basic reflex save. It remains until you move or until the end of your next turn, whichever comes first. You're a rampart. You're not supposed to move, right? So as long as you don't move, it'll last even until the end of your next turn. The entire 65-foot line that you are gives standard cover to you and to your allies, but not to your foes.
Yes.
And creatures can move through the rampart, but that you are. It's not like a wall that's completely blocking the battlefield, but you are greater difficult terrain to your foes.
Have you ever wanted to be greater difficult terrain and a 65-foot line? Now you can.
Now, also, you think about it as stretching sideways, but if you're in a narrow corridor, you can turn to your side by side, and you can just make the entire corridor
greater difficult
terrain for your foes. By the way, not your allies.
Yeah.
So your allies could just be like, move through you, the rampart, smack the enemy, move back. And the enemies are like, okay, I see that happening. But in order for me to do that, I have to move through greater difficult terrain, tumble through this guy. He might have that annoying disrupting tremor reaction.
Being like an Earth Eldamon or Earth Elemental avatar in caverns and catacombs and caves and all that kind of stuff, where you're got those narrow hallways and are surrounded by Earth all the time. It's just like, good luck, enemies.
That is true. Kojo points out, even with a good fly speed or climb speed, that's still an action for them to get out of the fissure. Yes, they're both very good. So you'll decide, do you want both of those at level 15? Do you want to go back and pick up one of the 13s that you missed? There's some pretty good ones at 13. I wouldn't blame you for that either. And you assemble your 4 active powers. We're looking at the different builds you can have here. Obviously, there's not like a long range build very much, but
it's more. But I think a lot of it's going to be more about how much do you want to focus on the different types of defense versus the action denial for your opponents. I think that
the builds here are like, think about how much defense to put in. Hint: don't do all defense.
Yes.
If you're just like, I have Aegis of Immortal Stone and Stone Shell and Entrench. Those are my only 3 active powers at level 13. It's like, okay, great, dude. They're never going to kill you. But what are you doing?
They're not going to attack you either.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What? All right, so at level 17, we pull out our strongest non-ultimate power. We're going to pick between Avalanche and Petrifying Dust. They're both excellent.
So Avalanche is going to be like our Elemental Storm type situation.
It's our 3-action Elemental Storm. It's a 20-foot radius burst within 30 feet of you. The shortest range on any of these. Creatures other than you and your allies that start their turn in the area take d4s of bludgeoning damage. If you or your allies are in the area, you are unharmed and gain lesser cover from the avalanche. And that is what it does. It gives you cover, it gives your enemies damage.
Pretty straightforward.
You might as well hang out in it. It just keeps doing every turn until you refresh.
I mean, Earth doesn't really usually feel like moving that much anyway, so yeah, you might as well hang in it.
Or, if you'd rather, you can take Petrifying Dust. So with Petrifying Dust, you breathe out a cone of dust on your foes. It's a 40-foot cone, which might not sound like a lot.
But it's big for Earth.
That's big for Earth. The only thing that Earth has that's bigger than 40-foot cone is the 60-foot emanation from exploding bulwark that required them to be within 20 feet when you first started doing
Or being the line.
That's still only 30 feet in each direction.
That's true.
The 40-foot cone deals only d4s of damage. Now, that probably seems sus to you. We've seen d6s, we've seen d8s, we've seen d10s.
It's going to be a ridiculous debuff.
d4s of
damage? It's called Petrifying Dust. It's not called I damage you.
d4s of damage?
A lot dust.
Okay, so, on a critical success, they're unaffected. On a regular successful save, how much damage do they take? Full damage. Do they take half? No.
No, because the damage is not to their point.
Damage. Yes. And they're also clumsy 1 for a round. That's right. They take all the damage and are clumsy 1 for a round on a success. This should get you very suspicious of this power because that sounds like a failure to you, right? Yeah. Taking full damage.
I think Petrifying is coming down this line.
Failure. Full damage. Clumsy 2. At the end of each turn, a creature with the clumsy condition from Petrifying Dust must attempt an ongoing fortitude save. On a failure, the clumsy increases by 1 or 2. On a critical failure and a successful save reduces the clumsy by 1 or removes it entirely on a critical success. These ongoing saves have the incapacitation
petrification is definitely
If they reach clumsy 4, they become petrified permanently. Critical failure, same as failure, except they take triple damage. So it was full damage, triple damage, and they start at clumsy 3, meaning 1 regular failure is permanent petrification on
So you can just do permanent petrification cones multiple times per minute.
Yes, that is right. And Kojo points out Earth not having very much range seems fair given it has so many other effects. Absolutely. That's why when you look at the star chart that each element has, you can just go and look at them, and you're like, oh, okay, let's see. I don't know, air has, 2 points on control, and it has 3 points on offense, and 3 points on defense, and 2 points on debuff. Earth...
This is on page 71.
Earth has 3 points on offense, same as air. 5 points on defense, 3 points on control, so it's more. And then it does only have, like, 1 on debuff, which is 1 less. But it's more than air on every other thing.
Yeah.
But why? Because air
has
is constantly
range.
moving everywhere.
Air's range is just, yes.
Air is strong against Earth. And Earth has, like, no range. So air can just laugh as it kites Earth.
Yes.
From a far distance. And Earth is just never able to use any of its powers.
Mm-hmm.
So even though Earth, and you can look at the area of the star chart, and Earth's star chart has way more area than air. The only one that even comes close to looking like it has high area might be darkness, and that is very, very susceptible to your enemies having the ability to see in the dark.
Yes.
A lot of its power comes in the way it could debuff enemies who don't have dark vision, but many enemies have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, Petrifying Dust is pretty rad. That's not even your ultimate. We have 2 ultimates. Kunlun or Yamazu.
And I'm seeing these are also both 3 action powers.
They're both 3 action powers.
These are going to be ridiculous.
Choose at level 19 between Kunlun. It calls forth a small mountain in the shape of an enormous, magnificent pillar that towers into the sky with a gem-like facade adorned with symbols of mysticism and elemental energy. The pillar emerges from the ground within 200 feet.
Oh, that's way longer than you've been able to do with anything else.
It's your ultimate within 200 feet. I mean, some people's ultimate is like 1,000.
Yeah, I know, but for you?
That's pretty good. It lasts for a minute. I mean, I guess there's the 120-foot range on the curtain. That was the only other one.
Okay, fair.
You do need all 60 feet of the curtain to be within the 120-foot range.
Whereas here you don't, yeah.
You do not need to have it all within there. It has a 60-foot radius with a height of your choosing up to 180 feet if used in an open area, or just tall enough not to crush creatures atop the pillar if used in a confined area with a ceiling. Creatures in the area are lifted rapidly as the mountain grows. Foes on the ascending pillar must succeed at a reflex save against your power DC or fall prone from the sudden motion. You can choose whether to have all such creatures slam into the ceiling, if any, taking bludgeoning damage with a basic reflex save against your power DC, or gently slow down the ascent before it reaches the ceiling. Its climb DC is 20. Now, some creatures don't have athletics. They're not going to be able to climb it. Now, if you use this to move your allies, first of all, they will not fall prone.
Yeah, because of your allies.
Second, the enemies now have to climb a 180-foot pillar to get to your allies that you moved up.
Mm-hmm. They probably also don't have line of sight anymore.
They might not. Now, you move your enemies up. Do they get... Their saving throw, by the way, doesn't stop them from being moved up onto this pillar. There's no way to stop.
It just stops them from taking the damage, yeah.
Or from falling prone.
Yeah.
So, they definitely just went up on a 180-foot pillar. Now, what if they don't have athletics? Or climb speed or fly speed? Now, they do have a faster way to get down to the bottom of that pillar, which is taking 90 falling damage.
Yes.
And then falling prone and then standing up. But that's still, like, one action to jump off a cliff.
Yes.
90 damage, and then another action to stand up, which is not ideal.
And you can do it again.
You cannot do it again.
You cannot do it again because it's
an
ultimate. Yeah. Okay.
It's an ultimate. It's Kunlun.
That's true.
That would not be fair.
I was like, wait, you can do that again? No, it's an ultimate.
No, it is an ultimate. Now, it doesn't do any damage other than potentially 90 damage. And 90 damage might sound like a lot, but some of these ultimates could just do 90 damage.
If you slam them into the ceiling.
Correct.
Then it's a reflex save.
If the ceiling is exactly 180 feet up, you could potentially not only deal 70 damage, but then also 90 damage if they also can't fly or climb down it, and then they jump off.
Well, also, wouldn't that, if it was like a shorter...
It's still deal 20d6, but you won't deal 90 falling
damage.
Yeah,
you won't deal 90 falling damage, but still.
If it's like a 40-foot ceiling, you only deal 20 falling damage.
Yeah, but at that point, the slamming them into the ceiling is more important.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But you really want to fight them then in a big cavern.
Well, I mean, you're Earth, right? That's the kind of place you like.
Well...
Giant underground caverns.
Yes.
Now, your other option is Yamazu. You evoke earthquakes and other seismic activity reminiscent of the thrashing of an enormous subterranean catfish. That's based on Japanese folklore that said giant catfish under the ground created earthquakes. So the earthquake is a 60-foot burst within 200 feet. Creatures on the ground in the area other than you, that does include your allies,
but not you at least.
It's a 60-foot burst. Just don't put it where your allies are. This is within 200 feet. You actually have range on this.
Yes.
Take D8s of bludgeoning damage from the shockwaves, tremors, and collapsing earth with a reflex save. Until you refresh, the area is greater difficult terrain, and creatures on the ground in the area other than you take a -2 to attack rolls, AC, and skill checks. Furthermore, anyone who fails on their save against those D8s of damage falls prone in a small crevice, and if they critically fail, they actually fall into a large fissure 40 foot deep and have to climb out.
I can definitely see like an earth and air working well together, where the earth is like, you stay here, and the air is like, ha, moving in, moving back, and they can't get the air at all.
That is correct. Also, Earth is just flat out weak against air.
No, I'm saying Earth and air on the same team.
Oh, yes. I could see that,
fighting
too.
against an opponent.
That is definitely possible. Let's see. So, yeah. The mythical catfish is called a namazu. So, this is like a yamazu.
So, it's like a mountain plus catfish.
namazu.
Yes.
Here, I can give you a link to the Wikipedia page on namazu for the catfish. Like a mountain catfish.
So what you're saying is it was like a Japanese play on words?
A little bit. So, that is all of your options for powers. Now, what if you're an avatar of Earth? Okay, great. So, you've got your usual choices. Your elemental locomotion, climb speed, equal to half your land speed. Your enhanced locomotion, a burrow speed. It's a pretty obnoxious burrow speed that you can use to annoy your enemies on the ground. And speaking of which, is that like Earth eldamon, I believe, do not have a burrow speed. So this is something special for you just for being an avatar. Your elemental manipulation is that you can move stone and earthen objects or churn up the earth in minor ways. You can till soil, drag a stone object of up to 8 bulk, up to 15 feet, and so on. Your sculptor ability lets you shape and sculpt loose earth into a desired shape. Doesn't create anything solid enough to stand up to force or artistic enough to sell for its aesthetic merit, but repeated application can do so with crafting. The earthen sculpture must be small enough to fit in a single 10 by 10 square or less, and you can sculpt earth up to 20 feet away. So you can still do a 10 by 10 thing. It's just, if someone really tries to shove it over, they will. It's pretty awesome. Your elemental sense, of course, is a tremor sense.
Naturally.
Imprecise up to 30 feet. Your resistance is being hard to move with a +2 circumstance bonus to your fortitude and reflex DCs against shove and trip. It applies to saving throws against spells or effects that attempt to knock you prone, and you move 10 feet less if they would move you as long as you're on a solid surface. With enhanced resistance, this increases to +4. Your elemental shield is not only does it give you the +2 AC like every elemental shield, but also if the damage that you would take would be physical and is not adamantine, the first time you take damage while the shield is up, you can reduce it by half your level.
So even more resistance to physical damage.
Every round, it can give you and it's not resistance, it reduces it by half your level. That stacks with resistance.
Yes.
Minimum 1. So if you had this at first level, it'll do 1.
Yeah, but still reduce and then resistance together.
Yes, correct.
You're really going to be ruining your enemy's
and if you do elemental shield every turn, which to be clear, your things are such short range that if you can do that, your enemies really are coming right to you. They are kind of the Leroy Jenkins of your foes.
Yes.
But if you do, that's 1 damage. Even at level 1 damage every round adds up.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you do that big cone and your multiple attack penalty is up into the stratosphere, you definitely would be a good time to do that.
Well, sure. If you didn't have to move to get into position for it. Your elemental surge, if you can't get off a power due to your poor range, allows you to gain resistance equal to half your level to all physical damage except adamantine for a round on your next turn's power. And those are the elemental avatar feat abilities from Earth. Okay.
Is it time?
Let's look at the eldamon. It's time for Kitopaz.
Yay!
Our common Earth eldamon. Kitopaz is the crystal Earth cat eldamon. So Kitopaz's evolution condition is obtaining shiny things to reach peak enlightenment in the art of all that is shiny.
But don't say that I'm obsessed with shiny things.
Yes. We are not ameowsed.
They're very prideful.
Their battle form is Kitefnut, and Kitophet is the evolved form. So, your elemental ability, Strength of the Earth, is that the Earth itself provides you with overflowing energy to protect you from harm. If you start your turn on the ground during an encounter, in direct contact with a rock or earthen surface, you gain 1 temporary hit point until the beginning of your next turn. It increases to 2 if you're an expert in power DC, 3 if you're a master, and 4 if you're legendary. So you just basically get temporary hit points, assuming you're standing where you want to be standing every turn. That is not the same as reducing damage or resistance. It's just another hit point.
Yeah.
So at first level, if you also are an eldamon battler and you have the shield, you will, once per turn, the shield will reduce damage by 1. Once per turn, your temporary hit points will ablate 1 of the damage. And so that's 2 damage every turn that you're getting rid of without even using the reaction that you also have that reduces damage by 6 once per refresh.
Good luck hurting someone who has the earth element.
You need to hit Ketopaz once for a lot of damage. They don't have that many hit points. Although their base eldamon hit points is 8 for earth, which is a lot for an eldamon. Now, that's your elemental ability strength of the earth. Your form ability, Regal Nemes, is the shiny headdress that you have in battle form. Proves for what you once and for all as truly regal and magnificent, while protecting you from effects that steal your sovereignty. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saves against emotion effects and effects that imply confused or controlled. Every success becomes a critical success. This helps you deal with certain will save based abilities that honestly Earth can't always deal with normally. Yeah. And your evolution ability, if you become Kitofet, Crystalline Guard, is going to give you many crystals that will flow earth elemental energy through them. And at the end of your turn, you can deplete the energy to gain a +2 circumstance bonus to AC until the beginning of your next turn. If you do, you can't do it again until you refresh at least 3 times. Since you refresh instantly after an encounter, you also replenish your crystalline guard like pretty much right away.
Yeah. So it's you're not going to be doing it multiple times in one combat probably, but
unless you're doing that strategy I mentioned where you just keep refreshing.
Yes.
But in that case, you probably didn't need to release it to get +2 AC.
Yeah.
So, as you might expect with Ketopaz, those extra temporary hit points really can help you add up. Now, 4 is not a lot at very high levels when it goes up to 4, but it is every turn.
Yeah.
So, every little bit helps. And mainly the effect that helps you against a lot of will save based things can really be clutch in certain situations. It's the reason it's the common eldamon. Let's go into uncommon.
Because you can't really go wrong with that.
Let's go into uncommon because our uncommon eldamon here, Geofer, is just a little bit weird compared to our other one. So
a little shovel-tailed gopher.
It is our gopher, Geofer, who turns into Geomis, and then Geomite with a gigantic shovel tail. So Geofer wants you to help them dig their way to a truly extraordinary find. To evolve into Geomite, their elemental ability, Hardened Soil, gives greater control over hardening earth magic, allowing you to become more resistant to damage. Whenever an earth power grants you resistance or hardness based on your level, gain resistance or hardness as if your level was one higher than normal. Now, for some of them that are half, it might do nothing.
Yeah.
For instance,
unless your level is...
Unless your level, as I said, might.
Yeah.
Unless your level is just the right parity to get more. So, for instance, if you have half your level minimum 1, this doesn't do anything until level 3, when it will give you a second. If it's equal to your level, such as the starting reaction all eldamon have, that's 1 more. So you actually get 7 from the starting reaction harden instead of 6. And if it's the friggin' one that is 4 times your level, then it's 4 more. Yeah. Your form ability, Rending Claws, are your gopher claws. They dig through solid objects, and they ignore an amount of hardness equal to your level. This has no effect on resistance, just hardness.
So objects.
Yes. Or other Earth Eldamon using that thing gives them quadruple hardness. And then Shoveling Dig, their evolution ability, lets them dig at a 20-foot burrow speed. So if you do want a burrow speed like the high-level avatars can get with the feet, bring Geofer. It's the only one who's going to dig for you. Next is Sandit, the Sand Lizard Eldamon.
Also uncommon?
Also uncommon, can battle form into Saderma and evolves into Sandrak, which has a tail that's almost like one of those lizards that have a tail that looks like a fake head to confuse Butte.
It also has a draconic type appearance, as you might expect from the name Sandrak.
So Sandrak's evolution condition is helping Sandit overcome their shyness and put on a truly wonderful skit or puppet show. That lets them evolve into Sandrak, the one with the puppet tail. So their elemental ability is Protrusive Cover. Your earth power seeps out of you, allowing you to grant your allies additional cover. Whenever you give your allies lesser cover against an attack made through your space, you instead grant them +2 to AC instead of usual +1 to AC. Are the other benefits the same as standard cover? No, only the AC, not the reflex.
That's why it doesn't say you grant standard cover instead.
Yes. But this is any time, which even includes times you didn't use a power and you're just standing there.
Yeah.
Like a normal person. Only grant your allies the +2, not the enemies. Your form ability, Sand Shroud, is when you're hit, you shroud yourself with sand. If a creature hits you with a strike, the impact launches a shroud of sand It's causing you to be concealed until the end of that creature's same turn.
Mm-hmm.
It makes follow-up attacks on you have a 20% mischance every time. So it's just hard for them to get lots of consecutive hits
And this
on
isn't
you.
a reaction. It just
No, it
happens
just
every
happens.
time. Yeah.
They do have to hit you.
Yeah.
But yes, every time. So it's great for when you want to avoid follow-up attacks. Heck, if you self-petrified yourself, basically the only way they're going to miss
As opposed to self-petrifying someone else.
The only way they're going to miss is if they have the 20% mischance because your AC, or if they roll a natural one.
Or
even then they're probably going to hit.
Yeah.
And then if you evolve them, they get Puppet Tail to lull their foes off guard and distract them with a Puppet Tail. A single action, they can make a performance check against the foe's perception DC, causing them to become off guard until the end of the next turn. If it's a success, if you attempt a tail strike after resolving this strike, the target becomes off guard until the end of your turn, unless the strike was a critical failure. So, if you weren't going to do an attack roll that turn, you can just do a tail strike. Even if it misses, it makes them off guard automatically.
Yeah, and I see they do
Unless
have performance as a skill, as an eldamon skill here.
And if a foe is off guard due to your tail, because they think your tail is ahead, your movements don't trigger reactions from them based on movement.
Although I guess their charisma is +0, so...
Which isn't terrible. It's not the worst it could be. It could be -1. It goes up to +2 at higher levels. It's not the greatest, but they have it as an eldamon skill. The main thing is you can kind of confuse your foes with your tail. Now, the rare Earth eldamon is Pangeolil, the rock pangolin, whose battle form is Petrolin and evolved form is Folith. Your evolution condition is helping Pangeolil learn and keep an especially deep or important secret, because Pangeolil loves to keep little secrets. So the eldamon elemental ability is Earth's Vengeance. Creatures who damage you find quick comeuppance. After a creature damages you, when your Earth powers damage that creature, you gain a +1 status bonus to the power's damage for 24 hours. It increases to +2 if you're an expert, +3 if you're a master, and +4 if you're legendary. If the Earth power deals damage in direct response to a creature's attacks against you, such as Rebounding Embrace or Vengeful Backsplash, the status bonus increases by 2 to a maximum of +6 if you're legendary.
So you want to take a retributive power with this guy.
Because it can make Rebounding Embrace do, instead of 9 or 13, if you buffed up your thing to make it do more, it can start off as 11 or 15.
Yes.
It's a significant increase. It likes doing retributive damage. Its form ability is Curl Up. As a single action, it curls up, gaining +2 to AC, or increasing standard cover to greater cover if you already have standard cover. And you're immobilized, you can't make unarmed attacks, you can't use powers except reaction powers. But a creature who hits you while you're curled up takes piercing damage.
So really all about the retribution here.
Yes, that's correct. And then
you could use the power and then curl up as your last
Curl
action.
Up lasts until the end of your next turn, but you can end it early with a single action. And your last ability when you evolve...
So you could, power curl up, uncurl power, for example.
Yes. So, when you evolve, because you were saying that it was already all about the retribution damage. Well, countless spikes. Your spikes are everywhere. Even when you aren't curled up. A creature that attempts a melee unarmed strike or a non-reach melee strike against you, whether or not you're curled up, whether or not it even hits you, takes piercing damage with a reflex
Even
save.
if they miss, it's just how dare.
Yes. This replaces the damage from curl up. If you're curled up, a creature that fails their reflex save also takes an equal amount of persistent bleed damage. So, then they can just really start bleeding.
Excellent.
It's all about how dare. Just how dare. You're a Pangeolil. Or
Look how
in that
cute
case, a Folith.
Yes, I know, but look how cute Pangeolil is. How dare.
There's a sidebar on crime and punishment. On the rare occasions when Pangeolils divulge a secret, even when they do so for a good reason, they experience guilt and may flee from their friends and return to their original home. To remain in isolation and convinced they are no longer worthy of trust. No amount of logical reasoning can pull them out of such despair. And trusting them with a new important secret might do the trick instead. So, you can see which ones you want to take depending on which powers you're using. Obviously, if you are going for Geofer, you want as many as possible that give you resistance to damage. Now, this also means that it even includes the one that was like, you gain resistance 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, and then every even level it goes up by 1, because that is also one that you can get to go up at certain levels. It's a good choice. Sandit, on the other hand, is going to be good for ones where you're trying to stand in front of your allies, and especially is good against ones where you're trying to get your enemy to attack you multiple times, because the mischance certainly helps. Pangea is all about retributive damage, dealing damage by getting hit. And then Topaz is pretty good at everything.
All-arounder. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what powers you take with Topaz because you are going to benefit from having a little more hit point buffer and being better at will saves.
That's right. So, as you can see, Earth is a strong element. And it sounds very good on paper and in white rooms. In a real battlefield, you may find a lot of turns where you cannot actually reach your opponents. It definitely works well if one of your allies, say, has force, which has an ability that can throw you at the enemy, or even just move you around on the battlefield.
Or if you're working with someone else who can hamper enemy movement even more, like if you're working with someone who has the ice element, for example.
Correct. Or water, which can pull the enemies towards you, or push you towards the enemies, because waters and things usually are like, if an ally's in this, they can be choose to be pushed along with it. Also a good combination.
Speaking of water.
So, all of these work well with Earth as allies. If you're an elemental avatar of Earth, you might even consider a mount. The problem is, you're not touching the ground if you're on a mount. So, there's a whole bunch of powers that don't work. You have to be very careful with that.
Yes.
But, it would let you move into position. So, if you carefully select ones that don't require you to be on the ground, you might be able to find a way to make that work.
Speaking of water, water is going to be our next episode.
That's right. Please like and subscribe if you're into this eldamon content, or you just like Arcane Mart. You can join if you'd like to support us. Please vote for the next episode of Arcane Mart, whether it will be Build a Hazard Workshop, Ask Arcane Mart, Save My Game Q&A, GM Tools, Dark but Not Too Dark, Arcane Mart Plays, or Eldamon Element.
Or
other. And Koja said you could do a fastball special with the Earth Element. Exactly. That's one of Force's abilities, always moving people around. Maybe you could almost literally do it with throwing them and then having them do rock and roll and turn into a giant boulder. All right, it looks like there's 2 votes for
Element,
2 votes for light. Well, we'll put fire and life up as options, even though there are KLC streams for those. But light is the only one that doesn't have any stream.
That is true.
Okay, so there you have it. Earth could be the right one for you. Talk to your party about what else is in the party to find out if element
Talk to your party if the element of Earth is right for you.
That's right. It can work really well for some groups. For others, it can wind up, if your allies like to Leroy ahead of you, you can wind up just being left behind and slowly trudging towards them. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good week. If you're in the U.S., have a good Thanksgiving. We will see you on Saturday for the water